Welcome to another 30-minute workshop presented by the Student Success Center at Eastern Illinois University. In this session, we will discuss several strategies to help you achieve better grades in less time. By the end of the presentation, you will have examined your own habits for studying, learned the best and worst ways to study, and learned new concepts regarding study strategies. Let's begin. For this workshop, you will need a pen or pencil and a blank sheet of paper for taking notes. There are not any required handouts for this workshop. However, you will definitely want to copy down the 7-day study plan as well as other test-taking strategies. The concepts we will cover are the worst ways to study, so you know what you may be doing wrong, the best ways to study, helpful tips for taking specific tests, the 7-day study plan, and other test-taking strategies. If at any point you need to view a slide for a longer period of time, you may pause the podcast and rejoin me when you are ready. Let's look at some sure ways to perform at your lowest ability and do your worst work. Here are some of the worst ways to study. Waiting until the last minute to study for an exam will ensure a poor grade. It is difficult for our brains to remember a ton of information at one time. Think of it this way. Can a professional athlete wait till last minute to train for an Olympic event? No way! His or her muscles will never be ready in time. Your brain is the same way. You can't wait until last minute to study, or your brain will never be ready for a test. Studying while the TV is on is a major distraction. Usually, it is fine to study with low music, but a television offers entertainment that you must think thoroughly about to understand the scenario. If you are devoting part of your brain time to thinking about a television show, you are only devoting part of your brain to studying, and this will result in poor reviewing and memory for your exam. Studying in a crowded area or with a large group of people will also distract you from thoroughly reviewing and retaining information. If you have distractions, you will never be able to focus. Finally, cramming all night long with no sleep is a sure way to destroy a good grade on an exam. Think of the example about the Olympic athlete. They cannot cram their training in one night, and neither can you. The brain does not work that way. Additionally, your brain needs rest just like an athlete's muscles. If you overuse your brain all night by cramming information, and it does not rest, you are ensuring an overload on your brain. Now let's look at the best ways to study. Here are some sure ways to perform at your highest ability and do your best work. Review your notes daily. If you spend an hour or more after each class meeting and review your notes, you will easily retain the information taught that day and previous days. The more you review material, the more natural it is for you to remember it, and the better you will do on your next exam. Make flashcards to continuously quiz yourself on material. Throughout the semester, make new note cards as you learn new material, and study all past and new note cards to master class material. While studying, avoid any distractions. You should designate a certain area as your study area. Try the library or another quiet location free of any distractions, such as the TV and friends. Get in a routine of going to this place every time you study. Having a consistent place to study will encourage your body and mind to become used to this area, and you will naturally study better. While you study, try to anticipate questions that may be on the test. Base these questions on previous tests or quizzes, material emphasized in class, and your professor's style. If you must study for a long period of time, implement breaks to give your mind a rest. Try a schedule like studying for 45 minutes, breaking for 15 minutes, and studying for 45 minutes. Repeat this schedule while you study. Before each class, study material you have previously learned and after each class, study new material. By studying directly before or after class, you are immediately reviewing information, which will make an exam much easier. The more you review material, the more natural it is for you to retain and repeat during test time. Form a small study group for studying. Typically, individuals in study groups have the same agenda: to get a good grade. By studying with people in class, you will be able to help each other understand information and work as a team to achieve the highest grade. Ask your professor for help. If you are unsure of the material on an exam, ask the professor what they recommend to review. Also, ask the professor if they have any recommendations for the best way to study the particular information. And don't forget to ask your professor what the test format will be. You will want to know if it is a multiple choice, true/false, or essay exam. Finally, one of the best ways to study is to get a tutor. If you are having trouble understanding or retaining information in a particular topic, find a tutor. This individual will give you tips on understanding information and studying for information. If you are interested in a tutor, visit the Student Success Center website to view a complete list of campus-wide tutoring schedules. Here are some typical student thoughts about studying and some survival tips to overcome them. Some students think their friends will judge them or think they are stupid if they get a tutor. Here's a survival tip. Think of it from the opposite perspective. What will they think if you fail a class because you refuse to get a tutor? Realize you can't please everyone, and no matter what you choose, someone is going to judge you. I'm sure you'd rather be called a nerd than fail a course, right? Asking for help is smart, not stupid. Think of the example of the Olympic athlete. What if they never asked for help or never had a personal trainer? They wouldn't be an Olympic athlete. Your studies are the same way. Now that you know how to study for an exam, let's look at each type of test you may encounter. Like I said before, you should be anticipating questions on the exam based on your teacher's style. There are 3 options: multiple choice tests, true/false tests, and essay tests, or a combination of the 3. Let's look at some tips for each type. You may want to take notes on this too. For multiple choice tests, consider the following tips. Cross out all answers that are sure to be wrong. This will help you focus on few answers you might think are right, without talking yourself into something that is for sure wrong. This will also create a process of elimination and will help you find the best answer. Watch out for answers that say all of the above or B and C. When you see answers like this, don't just mark them, but actually make sure if all the answers are right or if only B and C are right. Remember, these answers are here for a reason, but don't let them confuse you. Be confident about your first choice. Remember to follow your gut. Chances are, your brain has made a quick connection to the answer in the question, and you should listen to it. Do not talk yourself out of answers. In reality, we can talk ourselves out of the right answer just as easily as we can talk ourselves out of the wrong answer. So trust your first choice. Finally, look for grammatical clues. If definitions are not word for word what you studied, start breaking down sentences and making grammatical connections between the question and the answer.